We're here with Connie, and we're ready to assemble the handle to the scale.
Okay.
Now, you remember we made the scale downstairs.
Sure.
It's got the liner, and it has the bolsters on it, and it's also been drilled through the bolster. And if you look, you'll see the pilot holes for drilling on the handle.
Okay.
All
So
right.
those parts are all going to be held together with rivets? Is that how that
Yes,
works?
we're going to put 3 rivets in this after we drill them. And this is your ebony handle, which we've made here. This is ebony wood, and it's been sawed so that it fits right between the 2 bolsters, nice and cleanly.
So that, you wouldn't even know that wasn't already connected. Okay.
All right, Connie's going to start, and what you're going to see is her using these pilot holes to drill down through them.
That ebony's a very hard
It's
wood,
a real
right?
hard, dense wood. That's what we typically use because they work well with our processes. Now, what she has here is a little 1/16 inch drill bit that's chucked up into a drill chuck, and that's just attached to a motor, not much unlike a washing machine motor.
Okay.
Now, she has a little table here that is operated with her knees. She presses up with her knees, and the table rides up, and that enables her to hold onto the part with both hands. Now we'll have her do a couple sets, and then we'll move on to the next operation.
Okay.
Now we're going to move down to the next drill. It's the very same operation, although we're working on the other side of the handle now. We're going to put what's called a counter bore in there because we got to put a rivet in there, and it's got to have the head of the rivet's got to have a place to go.
Sure.
Now, typically she would have a whole tray of knives right here, 20 to 30 sets of handles, and you can see how quickly she can move through them.
Okay.
Now we're going to move down to the riveter. She's going to load a rivet into the riveting machine. She's got a little foot pedal. This is operated by air. Go ahead. And you'll notice she's using a pair of tweezers to pick up the rivets because they're quite small.
Sure. Yep.
All right, we're going to move down to the next station, Dwayne. Now, this is one of those instances, Dwayne, where we actually have 2 sides to the knife. Now, what I'm illustrating here is this hole right here. This is called your center hole.
So the parts look identical, but really that hole and that hole, you can't just use them interchangeably. They've got to go together in a very particular way.
They're exact mirror images.
Sure.
And one side is actually called your mark side, and your other side is called your pile side.
Is the mark side where the thumb catching piece
Well,
is?
typically that would use your front side of your knife, and yes, it may have
That's where you
something to
get
do with the
how
nail
you
mark.
open? Okay.
Now, Connie's going to now drill that center hole, and this is, again, very similar to the last operations where she just drills down through the hole, goes completely through, and that allows for our 3rd pin to assemble the knife.
Holds the whole thing together.
And there you have 2 scales with all the holes in them and riveted. Dwayne, now that we've riveted the handle on, we've got a lot of rivets and burr that's sticking off one side, and we need to make that completely smooth.
When I hang up that blade as it goes in and out of there.
Yes, and plus when you assemble a knife, you don't want any gaps in there caused by
Okay.
something, so we want to make it flat. So I'm going to turn the sander on and I'll flash these off real quickly. Now we have our flash scales and we're ready for assembly. All right, Dwayne, now we flashed the scales, we've got the handles on, and there's actually a couple other parts that go in this. This is called a center scale. That's going to be in between the 2 springs. That divides the knife for the 2 blades. All right? And then here are your springs. You have a thinner spring which goes with a smaller blade, and you have a main spring. That's called a pen spring, and this is called a pocket spring.
Okay.
Now Connie's going to assemble this, and we'll get a look at that.
Okay.
Now she has wire that she's using here. That's a piece of steel wire that she's putting in the middle. And she loads the one spring, the center scale, the other spring.
And so with the hook shape of that spring, as the blade opens, that puts pressure against it and helps keep it open when it's open, helps keep it closed?
When she gets it assembled, I'll show you the preload on the spring.
Okay.
She puts in her bolster pin, and now she's ready to put in her cap pin.
It's starting to look like a knife.
It's getting there.
So it's beginning to start to make sense to me what all those holes were for.
Yes, it does seem like a lot of holes, but now...
now you see what they're for when it's all coming together.
Yes. Thank you, Connie. Now here's one here. Now you'll notice that the springs are down in.
Okay.
They're inside the liners. That's what we call preload, and we need to push them back to enable us to load the blades in there.
So the blades are going to be on this side, and as you say, the springs are kind of tucked down in a little bit, so that tells me that the hinge is going to be at that end, because that's where the pressure is. Okay.
That is correct. Dwayne, now that Connie's put this together, she's riveted the center pins, and we're ready to load the blades in.
Okay.
I'm going to give this to Jim, and he's going to push the pins to one side, and then he's going to install a little tool that we call a witch. Unique name, isn't it?
Okay.
Now he presses that witch with this device here that we have, and that takes the preload off the spring.
Oh, right, okay.
And that allows him then to put the blade in.
Okay.
He's got the pin back in, he's got the blade loaded, puts the pins back where they belong. Do another one, please, Jim.
Now it's really starting to look like a knife. And I feel a lot of tension from that spring, okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, now we have nearly a knife, and we have one minor operation to do, and that's to grind this little part right here, which we call a kick. And that will allow, you'll notice the point sticking up right there.
Okay.
That'll allow that point to go down in there
All
so
the way
that you
flush,
can't
so
get
it's
snagged
not
on.
caught. Right. Very good.
Dwayne, now we've got these knives over from assembly, and what I've got to do first is I've got to grind these pins so they're the right length. I'm going to do that right now. See, I've ground these. It's very important that they're flat on the top for riveting and that they're the right length. Now that I've ground the pins, Dwayne, I'm ready to rivet these down. Now, I'm going to stick a spacer in here so that when I rivet these, the front doesn't collapse on me.
Yeah, sure.
All right? Now, I got to make sure that this is closed together, so I'm going to tap that a little bit and then go ahead and rivet it. Now I'm going to close the blade and do the other end. Make sure my pin is centered. Now I have the blades riveted in, and because I'm riveting a pin, there's a chance that that pin could twist or bend inside there. So what I want to do is make sure that the bolsters are even across there. Now you'll notice, Dwayne, my bolsters aren't exactly even.
Okay.
So I'm going to just adjust that a little bit. Place it on the anvil and tap the other side. And you notice that makes that even. I'm going to do this other one also. Just a little bit more. I have to be very careful I don't leave marks in that because the front side has already been finished. All right, now that I've done that, in the riveting process, that makes that pretty tight. You'll notice that it's not moving very quickly. So I'm going to loosen that blade a little bit, and I do that right here. Now what I'm doing is twisting the blade in the frame back and forth,
Make a little space.
and that stretches the pin and allows that to work. And also a little bit of oil always helps. There, you want to try that? Still a little bit stiff.
A little
isn't it?
stiff, but that's
Yes.
probably better a little stiff than too loose.
Now we have several operations that we have to go through where we'll remove material back here, and that will considerably weaken that up.
Okay.
Because you're going to take some of the steel away from the spring.
Okay.
Okay, Dwayne, you'll notice that the point isn't exactly centered in that opening.
Okay.
What we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is I'm going to kink it right here at the tang so that that point is perfectly
Lined up
centered.
right down the middle.
We have a little kick press here that I'll lay this blade into, and because we've pre-softened this area of the tang a little bit, that'll allow us to kink that. Put a little bit of pressure on that. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 efforts to get it exactly centered. Oh, a little too much.
Perfect. Right down the middle.
Dwayne, now that we've centered the blade and we've riveted and straightened it, I've got to remove all this excess material from around the back of it. We're going to do that on this sander right
A few
here.
little burrs and things on there.
Yes. We're going to make that completely flush. We have a belt sander with a 60 grit belt right here.
Okay.
Now that's called rough grinding, what I just got done doing. And now you'll notice, since I removed a lot of material there, they open and close much easier.
Wow, it sure does. Noticeably so.
But it is kind of warm. There's a lot of friction involved there.
Okay.